A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a powerful display of solidarity, tens of thousands of Australians took to the streets this past Sunday, marching in cities and towns across the nation to demand urgent action to support the Palestinian people facing dire humanitarian conditions. Organizers from Palestine Action reported that over 300,000 individuals participated in more than 40 protests throughout Australia, with significant turnouts in major cities such as Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. The protests were fueled by escalating concerns about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where recent reports indicate that famine conditions have taken hold. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, a leading authority on food crises, declared that over 500,000 people in Gaza are facing catastrophic levels of hunger, with many at risk of dying from malnutrition. As Israeli forces continue their bombardments, nearly 2 million people have been displaced, prompting calls for immediate international intervention. In Sydney, one of the largest protests saw participants chanting slogans like "Free, Free Palestine" as they marched through the streets, waving Palestinian flags and demanding sanctions against Israel. Organizer Josh Lees emphasized the need for the Australian government to take a strong stance against what many are calling genocide. "We demand an end to this genocide in Gaza and to demand that our government sanction Israel," he stated passionately. Melbourne also witnessed a significant rally, with protesters gathering outside the State Library Victoria. Activist Noor Salman urged the government to accompany any plans to recognize Palestinian statehood with tougher sanctions on Israel. "Enough is enough. There is no ifs, buts, or maybes," she declared to the crowd, echoing sentiments shared by many across the nation. In Brisbane, thousands marched over the Victoria Bridge, carrying placards and chanting for solidarity with the Palestinian people. The march began at Queen's Gardens and filled the streets with energy as participants expressed their outrage over the ongoing violence and suffering in Gaza. Despite police estimates suggesting a turnout of 10,000, organizers claimed that the number was closer to 50,000, illustrating the overwhelming support for the cause. Among the speakers at the Brisbane rally was Independent Senator Fatima Payman, who addressed the crowd and called for collective action to support human rights. The event also featured representatives from various unions and community groups, highlighting the widespread support for Palestinian rights across different sectors of society. Activist Rima Naji, one of the organizers, criticized local authorities for denying solidarity to the Palestinian community, particularly in reference to a planned march that was thwarted by legal challenges. "Those institutions walked right into our trap," Naji remarked, emphasizing the determination of protesters to continue advocating for justice. As the protests unfolded across Australia, similar demonstrations were taking place in other countries, including Malaysia and Kenya, showing a global movement of solidarity with the Palestinian people. Participants in Australia expressed a united front, demanding an end to the arms trade with Israel and calling for immediate sanctions in response to the humanitarian crisis. The rallies come at a time when many Australians are increasingly concerned about their government's foreign policy and its implications for human rights. Activists argue that Australia cannot claim to support human rights while simultaneously arming what they describe as an apartheid regime. The protests have sparked conversations about the role of international law in addressing issues of genocide and humanitarian crises. Many protesters invoked the Genocide Convention, arguing that Australia has a legal and moral obligation to act to prevent and punish acts of genocide. As the demonstrations concluded, participants left with a renewed sense of purpose, vowing to continue their fight for justice and to advocate for the rights of Palestinians. The overwhelming attendance at these rallies reflects a growing awareness and urgency surrounding the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, as well as a commitment to holding governments accountable for their actions on the international stage. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.